peeps and creeps and my boys and ghouls. This is Laura Graves, and today we're going to talk about one of my favorite horror movies as a kid called The Monster Squad. Okay guys, so I've had a few issues doing the last few videos that I was going to do, and one of them, half of the video actually got corrupted and I lost more than half of the video itself, so that's postponed. But today I decided we're going to continue our POV of horror, or my POV of horror, and I figured we're going to start off with one of my favorite movies, and now this is a 1985 kind of a family spook type of movie. Things were done differently in the 80s than they are done now, so a lot of things were geared more towards kids and their adults at certain ages, and this happened to be one of those movies, and I was part of that age group. I fell in love with this movie. In fact, it was my first favorite movie ever, and it's called The Monster Squad. Okay, so I was actually 2 years off of the date that this movie was released. This was released in August of 1987, and it's directed by Fred Decker. It was made for $12 million, and it made $3.8 million at the box office. And it says, 5 youngsters find themselves up against the combined might of Dracula, the Mummy, the Gill Man, and Frankenstein's monster, who arrive in town in search of a magic amulet. Let's see. And right now, you guys, if you're curious about this movie, apparently it's actually streaming right now on Shudder. So go check that out if you're curious, and especially if you're looking for something kind of geeky and fun, especially if you like horror movies but don't like to be scared. So this is one of those like starter out movies, you know. The cast, let's see. Andre Gower, Ryan Lambert, Ashley Bank, Robbie Kiger, Tom Newman, Duncan Rare, who plays Dracula, Stephen McMahon, Tom Woodruff plays the Gill Man, Jason Harvey is in it. If you guys are aware of The Wonder Years, he was in that. I'm trying to see who else. But you can look this stuff up too, just so you guys know. Office. So I think that's about it on that. This is a good movie about these group of kids who they like monsters, and they make their own club, and unfortunately they find themselves in the possession of Abraham von Helsing's diary, but it's all in German. So they end up getting some help from a World War II concentration camp survivor, and it's very subtle, but if you pay attention, there's a scene where the old man closes the door because the kids go, hey, you know, you sure do know a lot about monsters. And he tells the kids, you know, now that you say something, I suppose I do. And he closes the door, and right there is an Auschwitz number on his arm that tells you that he was in a Jewish concentration camp. So he knows a lot about evil, so to speak. And so the monsters are in town, and they're looking for this magical amulet that has the power to either persuade good or evil. Depends on whose hands it is in. If Dracula gets a hold of it, then he has the ability to turn the entire universe into a dark void, hell-bent creatures running loose type of thing. So these kids take it upon themselves to stop them, and they do get some help from adults along the way. One of them being not the older kid, but the lead kid of the group. His father happens to be a police officer, so he ends up, like, you know, realizing that his son and his friends are in danger, so they go to help. And there's some intense things in there. There's a little bit of language, a little bit of shocking language, but funny at the same time. The reason why I liked this film so much growing up was this was my version of the Universal Studio monsters, especially with Frankenstein's monster. Now, in the original Frankenstein, the monster is seen at a little, like, riverbank or a stream bank or something like that, with a little girl who's plucking off little petals of flowers and throwing them into the water. And he doesn't understand. So he picks the little girl up and throws her in the water, and she ends up dying because she can't swim. But, like, he doesn't understand. So that innocence is kind of redeemed in this film with the same type of shadowing there. I mean, he befriends the younger sister of the lead kid of the group, and he's there to protect the kids from his master, who Dracula has taken it upon him to revive him, as well as bringing forth the other monsters. Dracula is a really vile person or being in this film, because he even does extreme measures to where, like, the guy who's the Wolfman, he basically has him tied up and increases his dose of medications that help accelerate his transformation. And then you know, the other two creatures are kind of like the backup guys, so to speak. The mummy and the gill man, who's a remembrance of the creature from the Black Lagoon, and Curse of the Mummy, obviously, go after the kids. They find the kids, but they're subtle about it. Dracula's not subtle about anything. He knows what he's there for, he knows what he wants, and he knows that these kids, these little children, have an ability to get in the way of what he wants. And it gets pretty hairy towards the end there. I mean, you see Dracula's brides coming after the kids as they're looking for this amulet. Dracula himself is going down one corridor. Wolfman pops out. One of the most famous lines from this movie is, "Wolfman's got nards," and that's because they're in this creepy mansion house where Dracula has been staying, because that's where the amulet is located. And the Wolfman pops out, and the kids don't know what to do, and they tell him, you know, kick him in the nards, kick him in the nards, kick him, and he's like, he doesn't have nards. He's like, just do it. So the little kid runs up, kicks him right between the legs, and apparently it's effective. So that's why there's that meme out there that has lasted for quite a while of Wolfman's got nards. The other concept that I enjoyed very thoroughly as a young kid, even now, is the fact that a very high-end creature designer, I guess, by the name of Stan Winston, he's really well known for his art. He's done creatures from Jurassic Park. He did the dinosaurs for Jurassic Park. He's done the creepy mountain men for Wrong Turn. He did the crocodile for Lake Placid, Alien, the Predator, you name it. Go look him up. Look up his stats. Look up everything that he's worked on. He's done a lot of films, and he knows how to work it to where it looks similar to the original thing, or it looks completely out of this world. He just has a certain talent, and he did the makeup design for the creatures, the monsters in this film, and he wanted to go off of Universal Studios, but Universal Studios owns those monsters. They own Dracula and Frankenstein and the Mummy and the Wolfman and all that stuff. So in order to make it fresh and to avoid copyrights, he made his own design. That's why they look a little different. I always laugh about the Wolfman, because to me the Wolfman is a little more, he's fairly flat in the face compared to, like, say, American Werewolf in London, where there's a side view and the man's face elongates as he's shifting into a werewolf. Now, most horror films that produce a werewolf will have an elongation of the muzzle of the animal, but in order to keep this kind of similar to the Lon Chaney's Wolfman, where they just pretty much just did really cool, hair effects and stuff back then, they kept it short. Now, the weird thing is, it kind of looks like a furry owl at first, but once you really look into the concept, like the nose, the bridge of the nose is all kind of, pushed up a little bit, and he has really sharp claws, and he's very, he's the newer version of the, 1940s Wolfman, and the makeup in general is just so highly executed that it does really well. It does extremely well, and this is kind of a hidden, subtle message about how it has a really good subtle transition on how quickly the innocence of children can be lost very, very, very quickly. And that's kind of the big metaphor for these kids, is that they're so young and they have this, the world is on their shoulders type of thing that they're dealing with, and they have to literally kind of grow up and go to war with these supernatural beings in order to save the world. And it also touches on some sensitive subjects, like the parents need to be counseled. There's a possibility talk of divorce and what that does between the kids, and how there's confusion with the little girl, and how the parents are always fighting, and the little girl goes, are you gonna yell at him? And she goes, I love your father, why would I wouldn't yell at him. And she's like, what? I'm talking about Sean for scaring me. She's like, oh, of course you are, like, I feel stupid. and just basically how confronting our fears at a young age is extremely thrust upon us as a culture in the United States. Not just in the United States, but I mean, in general, as a young child, you are thrusted forward, propelled so quickly into this life of basically you need to either just grow up and just deal with it, or you're not gonna survive, you know what I mean? So that's basically what the deal is with that film. It's got some great commentary in there. One of my favorite things is the lead kid of the group has a t-shirt that says Stephen King rules, which if you look for it, I'm sure you can find that t-shirt novelty online. I definitely suggest it if you're wanting to get into horror films but you don't know where to start, or if you like movies like that but you don't necessarily like to be scared. This is kind of your good starter kit, so to speak. Wow, let's see here. I think that's it for now. I strongly suggest you guys go check it out. Like I said, it's streaming right now on Shudder, and